Hi, I'm your girl Nail. Welcome to the channel. I've been asked many times, what is it like to be a Jehovah's Witness wife and mother? And I decided that I would take this time to describe to you exactly what it means to be a wife and mother who is a active Jehovah's Witness and who is trying to do and be the best Jehovah's Witness mom and wife that she can possibly be. And I'm going to use the example of, or the perfect example of the mom in the Sophia and Caleb videos that are featured on JW Broadcasting. You can find those videos right now on the jw.org website. And we will primarily be speaking of right now lesson 2, which is titled Obey Jehovah. So in the video, you see young Caleb, who has to be about 5 or 6 years old, coming home from school playing with a wizard toy. And he comes into his home and his mother sees him playing with this toy that is a toy of a wizard or sorcerer. And so you can tell right off that she is kind of upset. But what she does is she has a conversation with her son. And the conversation is not that she is upset or that she doesn't want Caleb to be playing with this wizard in her household. Instead, she flips it. And what she does is she flips it in a way that thoroughly indoctrinates her son, which is the whole thing behind what a good Jehovah's Witness wife and mother is all about, and the weighty responsibility that Jehovah's Witness mothers and wives have. Now, I think that the Sophia and Caleb video, the father in the video, I believe that he is an elder, or he could be a ministerial servant, but I'm going to say that he is an elder in the congregation. Now, to be an elder in the Jehovah's Witness world means that, especially a married man who is an elder, it means that you have an exemplary wife and you have exemplary children. Now, many Jehovah's Witness men, they not only have the responsibility inside the congregation, but they have a responsibility outside of the home. And being that many Jehovah's Witnesses do not have degrees, it means that they have to work extra hard and long hours. They're doing manual labor, blue-collar labor. And so they really don't have or spend a lot of time in the home with their kids. That is the honest truth. They don't. They don't have the time to. So the raising of the children falls upon the wife or the mother. It is the mother's job to study with the children, to make sure that they are thoroughly indoctrinated each week, to make sure that their children are prepared for all the meetings, okay? To make sure their children go out in the field ministry and are prepared for the field ministry. It is the mother's responsibility to make sure that every aspect of their home life is regulated to a T that conforms with the Jehovah's Witness religion. That is the mother's role. Now, nowadays, there's a thing called family worship where all family heads or fathers or mothers who are the heads of their households have to participate in something called as I said, family worship. And that's where the family gets together and then they discuss, have a small meeting in their household about, it's just a microcosm of a regular congregation meeting at the Kingdom Hall. That's what family worship is supposed to be about. But, you know, the society or the governing body wants family heads to inject fun into it. So, you know, you can have other activities centered around so-called kingdom interests. But the idea is to get the family heads to be more participant in raising their children or thoroughly indoctrinating their children. Because before, it wasn't really done, and it really wasn't on the heads of the family. It wasn't on the heads of fathers to really do so. But the emphasis is now being stressed on family heads taking the lead in that manner in thoroughly indoctrinating their children. So, what being that the dads are out here trying to, work their blue collar jobs and trying to provide for the family, as I said, they really don't have time to sit back and indoctrinate their children. And that's where it falls upon the mom. It falls upon the mom and the wife to take on that lead. Now, as we watch the video of young Caleb and his toy, the mother is perturbed. She is not happy that her son brought this satanic toy into her household, because let's face it, that's what many Christians believe wizards and sorcerers are, satanic and of the devil, witchcraft, and all of those things. So instead of saying to her son, listen, mommy doesn't like these things in the household. They represent something that we don't believe in. So we need to figure out a way to, get it out of the house. Instead of the mother coming out and saying that, what she does, she takes this opportunity to indoctrinate and scare her child. So she proceeds to tell her child, um, show him that, do you remember or recall the story of Adam and Eve and how they sinned? Yes. How they made Jehovah unhappy? Yes, I remember that. And that's what Caleb says. Yes, I remember that story and all of these things. And so what she does is she sits down with him and she really begins to pound the fact that this toy is satanic and Jehovah is going to be very angry with him or sad with him because he is playing with this toy. Okay? And at the end of her little lecture, at the end of her putting into Caleb's mind that this toy is really, really bad and that he has to get rid of it or Jehovah is not going to be his friend. Okay? At the end of it, she asks her son, well, can you tell me what we should do with this little sorcerer or wizard toy? And she proceeds to take him to the garbage dumpster, right? And they place the toy in the garbage dumpster. And then, as some type of replacement of fun, she decides, or she says, hey, let's go ride on our bikes. Let's ride on our bikes. Because psychology says if you take something away from a child, you should have something there to replace it. Okay? So she replaces a wizard toy with a bike. Okay? And I guess that's supposed to be the message that the subliminal message to Jehovah's Witness parents is that if you take something away, replace it with something else. Okay? However, here's the thing. What the mom did was she took a situation, okay, and she took the opportunity, instead of talking to the child about how she felt about this toy in her household and how she and her husband do not want those type of toys in their household. Instead of doing that, she flipped it and made it seem as if it wasn't really her feelings on the matter, that it was really God's feelings on the matter, and that God wanted them to take the toy that was given as a gift to Caleb, take it outside and put it in the trash can, the garbage can. Now, this is a perfect example of how Jehovah's Witness women or mothers, the responsibility that they have inside of their household of what to do. And everything in a Jehovah's Witness household is not run or ran with the thought that this is how we feel as parents or as adults about raising our children, that these are our values and our principles. The way it runs is that this is not how we feel, this is how Jehovah feels, or this is how the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses feel about a certain matter. Okay, and so that's why the Jehovah's Witness mom, Caleb's mother, she didn't come out and say, well, hey, this breaks the rules of the household and we need to figure out a way to, deal with that, Caleb. Okay, no, it wasn't how she felt, it was about how Jehovah felt. And this is how Jehovah's Witnesses operate. It's never about them per se. It's always about so-called Jehovah, but really behind that screen, it's really about what will make the governing body happy and what will make the governing body sad. What's going to make the governing body angry and what's going to make them happy. And Jehovah's Witness wives and mothers have to toe that line. They have to know how to indoctrinate their children. Because anybody else, any other mother would have said, you know what, I don't want that in my house, take it outside. Period. That would be the end of the conversation for most households. But in a Jehovah's Witness household, that's the opportunity to continuously bombard your children with propaganda constantly until your children become afraid. They become scared, as little Caleb did. They become scared of making Jehovah unhappy. Now, what they do with the toy is very interesting. Caleb's mother takes them outside and they put the toy into a trash bin, a trash receptacle, a garbage can. Now, the thing on that is, and that I had a problem with when I was watching, was Caleb said that his friend gave him that toy. Would it have been so wrong for Caleb to have just simply went back to school the next day and give the toy back to the child that he got it from? Would it have been too much for the mom to put the toy in a plastic bag, to just leave it on the counter somewhere, and then when Caleb got ready to go to school the next day, put the toy in Caleb's book bag and tell him, you need to give this gift or give this toy back to the person that gave it to you? What was the significance of throwing the toy in the trash? Well, a lot of Christians believe that some things are tied to demonic influences. So that's why the mom put the toy in the trash receptacle. But would it have done any harm for her to have just put it into a freezer bag, zipped it up, set it outside on the porch? And then when Caleb got ready to go to school, he could pick it up and take it back and give it to the child? Or did she not trust Caleb enough for him to be able to do that? And to trust him enough would mean she would have to trust in her own indoctrination skills and hoped or believed that Caleb believed in the things that he was learning, so that he could be able to take that toy back to school. I don't know. But I just felt when I saw that video, it was a little too much and it was overboard. But it's a perfect representation of what Jehovah's Witness mothers do and the heavy responsibility that they have to be able to raise and indoctrinate their children in such a way that it looks good for the dad who really doesn't have that much time to spend at home with his children. In the Sophia and Caleb videos, though, the dad is very present, and that's another message to Jehovah's Witness rank and file members, is that the fathers should be taking a really strong and active role in their children's indoctrination in their lives, which it looks great on film, but it's really not practical because Jehovah's Witness dads really don't have the time. They're very, very busy. And then when you dump upon them the responsibilities in the congregation as elders and ministerial servants, and especially with elders, because you not only have the responsibilities of making sure that, all the Bible lectures are given and given, to the T, or conform to what's already being, the outlines that's being presented by the governing body. You not only have to do that, but you also have to police the congregation, and then you have to sit back and play pseudo psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, and therapist to the members of the congregation who are going through so much stuff, going through a lot. A Jehovah Witness dad has everything on top of their plates. They don't even have the time to sit back and sit down and really thoroughly indoctrinate their children. It falls on the mom. In order for the mom to do this, she has to be heavily, and I mean heavily active in the Jehovah's Witness organization. So this means that she needs to be studying, doing personal study all the time. She needs to be up on all the latest information that comes out from the governing body, Jehovah's Witness or Watchtower Bible Tract and Society. She needs to know everything there is to know about being a Jehovah's Witness to be a good Jehovah's Witness mother. I know a lot of women like that. A lot of Jehovah's Witness moms who are thoroughly indoctrinated, probably more indoctrinated in the Jehovah's Witness faith than their husbands. True story. True stuff. And the reason why is because they have to be, because they are really the pillar inside of their families and inside the congregations. Jehovah's Witness mom and mothers are actually the wheels that makes the organization or the congregation turn, because it's their hard work inside their homes and outside doing the field work, preaching and getting recruits that makes the congregation and make the congregations all over the world grow. It is not the Jehovah's Witness men, not at all. They don't have the time. They do not have the time. And it's really sad, because when you see a Jehovah's Witness brother on the stage giving a talk, believe me, 10 times out of 10, if he has a wife, she's the one that prepped him. She's the one that put it together. She's the one that coached him. And as we all know, Jehovah's Witness women are not allowed to be teachers in the congregation. They can't get up on the stand and give a prepared talk at the podium. They don't do public lectures or anything. They are only asked to read scriptures from their seat, or they're asked to do a demonstration. Okay, but they're not asked to do anything else. And that shows you just how sexist this organization really is. It shows you how women are used in the organization, and they're used as tools to prop up the men in the organization to make them look good. So while when the men thrive and they move up in the organization in positions of leadership, it's usually because of the women. It's usually because of mothers, Jehovah's Witness mothers, as portrayed in the Sophia and Caleb videos, that makes that happen. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of weight. And when a Jehovah's Witness wife and mother fails or falls on the job, her whole family falls on the job. Okay, and that's the way it looks in the organization, in the local congregation. When a Jehovah's Witness mother is not up to the par, as a mom, as an indoctrinator of her children, then it makes her husband looks bad. And if he has any position of leadership in the congregation, then he is summarily deleted from his position because he is not following what the scriptures say about being an exemplary leader, caring for the needs of his household. Okay, and what it really signifies and shows is that it's not the husband that's caring for the needs of his household. It's really the wife that's caring for the needs of the household and not the husband. However, as I said before, it's the wife's job, who's a wife and a mother, it's her job to make it seem as if her husband is indeed carrying or caring for the spiritual needs of his household when he really does not have the time to do so. He really does not have the time. It's all on the mom. And that's why I say that Jehovah's Witness moms and wives are the hardest working people in that organization. The hardest working people and the most indoctrinated. And usually you have to watch out for the Jehovah's Witness women because they are already fixated on one thing. They have to be. And if you are trying to wake someone up, that's going to be very difficult to do, especially if they are a woman, because this is something that they pour their whole life into. Okay, they pour into not only them, they pour into themselves, and they pour into their children, and they also have to pour into their husbands so that their husbands can continue to be leaders in the organization. So that is this week's video, or at least for today. I don't think I'm posting any more videos, but that is today's video. And I'm going to dig a little deeper into the Sophia and Caleb videos and really show you how the society or how the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses really operate and really expect their families to operate inside of their homes. All right then, so I will see you next time. If you have not already subscribed to the video, or subscribe to the channel, please go ahead and do so. If you have any comments, please drop down in the comment section and let me know what your thoughts are about Jehovah's Witness mothers and women, and what you think about the Caleb and the Sophia and Caleb video, lesson number 2, Obey Jehovah, and tell me what your thoughts are. If you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. We're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, so let's go ahead and get that done. Thank you so much. I will see you next time here in the Tiny Studio. Bye-bye.